Welcome back to a brand new video on the fitness videos here on the channel with Nat. Now, if we look at all modern golf swings, we want to have better hip rotation. The amount of times people ask me that question is crazy. So Nat's going to give you an exercise today that will categorically help you unlock your hips to create more power in your golf swing.
So here is the glute bridge we can have a go at to try and unlock the hips and remove some hip tightness before you play. This is going to be our trusty wall, the 50 post on the range, hence you can do this exercise absolutely anywhere. So I'm using my towel here as a mat. You can use anything at home, mat, in the gym, on the range, wherever you like. So all we're going to do, if I come down to the floor here, I'm going to place one of my feet in the middle of this post like this. And now a big technique point to this exercise, if I switch my feet around, is we're going to push through the big toe and the instep of the foot. That's really important for this drill to really gain maximum tension out of the glute. So from here, I'll bring myself down like this. So I've got a rough 90 angle. I'm going to tuck my knee all the way in towards my chest. And from here, push my toe, push the instep, and just drive up into a bridge, squeezing this glute up to the ceiling, all the way down. So I'm coming up, squeeze and hold, feel that tightness here in the glute, dropping myself back down. And like we said, the key thing here is this toe and this instep, so I don't push off and lose that position there. So I would say we're looking for around about 10 reps each side, really concentrating on that glute squeezing and driving that post.
So as you guys know, this channel is powered by the viewers, and we got a great one in here from Terry. Nat, this is what it's about.
Okay.
He said, Alex, I'm swinging and I've been told my hips are causing my slice because they're swaying too much. Now, from what I know on the body, more because of you, is that a lot of golfers, when they don't have the mobility, they'll get them moving this way.
Yes.
And just an important point, guys, don't forget we still have a week on all the plans on Off Scratch. That link is down below. Be sure to check that out, and that's a week for free. They should go and check that out, shouldn't they?
Absolutely, it's free. Nothing to lose. No. Go for it. Bargain.
So make sure you go and have a look at those. But now, back to these hips.
Okay, so you're talking about sway.
Yeah.
So we typically get sway as kind of a compensation for a lack of stability and a lack of rotation. So I'm just going to read between the lines between what Terry was saying here, is that he's talking about, I presume, downswing sway.
Yeah,
he's talking about.
I would say so.
So what we normally get is when we lose the lower body stability, we get a very overactive upper body kind of as a result of that. So we see with a lot of golfers, you know, they might turn into their backswing, we get this bump here, and it's, as a result, we kind of have to come over the top because that's stabilising the balance of our body. Because if we carried on going this way,
we'd eventually fall over, right?
Yeah, you'd be face first off the tee box, wouldn't you?
Hopefully that's
so
not you.
As a result of, brain's very clever, it goes, I can't keep moving to my left as a right-handed golfer, and obviously in reverse if you're a lefty. It's like, no, this is doing nothing, so what I'll do is if I turn that way, I'm still kind of on balance a little bit, but what we know with the club path then is we've come right over the top of it. If we've got that open face, we're prone to that slice coming to the right-hand side more often than not, which is really annoying.
So, obviously that's not what we don't want to have that in the golf swing, but now let's just talk briefly before we look at the exercise on what do the hips want to do. So, if what I look for in the golf swing with a lot of golfers is our right hip working a little bit up and around in the backswing.
Yes,
and then I always use this analogy because I think it sort of quantifies it a little bit, is, okay, we want like 5% shift and then 95% turn. So essentially, we want a little bit of weight transfer, but majority of that is going to be done in turn. Now, what actually is happening to do that? Because I think actually understanding this a little bit more, once you've done the exercise, you can then get into it and buy into it better and actually bring it into your game.
Yeah, exactly. And we always say that, you know, if you can understand your own body, you're halfway to fixing a lot of the issues. So to talk about physically what's happening during this motion of the golf swing, and I like to explain it a bit like this because I think it's really simple if you find your own hips. For me, that's my hip bones.
I'm going to do this as well. Okay, so top of your hip bone.
Yeah, if you come into posture, and as you quite rightly said, if you take a backswing turn, you'll feel the left hand lower than the right.
Yeah.
And then if we come into transition, we're relatively neutral, almost equal. As we come through the downswing, we've got the opposite, the right hand lower than the left all of a sudden. So what the pelvis had to do to make those motions is it had to turn like this and tilt, and that's that anterior tilt of the pelvis that we see from the side where the butt comes out like this. Biomechanical movement, it has to happen. We can't stop it, and we don't want to stop it either, because that's giving us the rotation, because that allows the head of your thigh bone to screw and turn within the socket, basically. So that's that motion here of what we class as hip turn, is essentially the pelvis moving over the thigh.
Like this?
Yeah, correct. And it's that, we call it hip turn. It's much easier to understand like that, but actually the hip's not really doing that much. It's your thigh, top of the thigh, and it moves within the socket like this. So if we've gone this way, as we start to come into transition and we get into these positions here, we have this slight lateral shift where the pelvis tucks back under again. And that's your 5% moving across this way as the pelvis comes underneath. So as I've sort of come from here, I'm slightly anterior, I've got this high hip, low hip. Come into the middle, I'm relatively neutral with my slight 5% shift. And now I'm coming posterior, I'm going the other way and I'm tucking underneath. And that's where we get a lot of that speed from. In terms of the hips, what we see with sway is we either lose an element of the rotation and the stability and being able to keep that center point. So we've moved across off it, and we've moved too far off it this way. And it can be for many reasons, but one of the main reasons is probably a lack of glute strength stabilising the pelvis, which is why we've selected the exercise that we have today.
Fab. Okay, so what we're going to look now is Nat's going to explain the exercise, so let's jump. So Nat, would a really good way of bringing this exercise, now people have done the exercise, is just putting maybe a golf club across your chest and just, again, feeling what you were saying, just feeling that we can get these hips a little bit more mobile. Yeah,
I think half the battle is practicing the movement. You know, the exercises are perfect. They allow you to create the movement, but we have to let your brain know that that movement's happening. So as you rightly said there, club across the hips, just rotate, feel what's going on here, feel what's starting to come on here as well. Feel the difference between right and wrong. You know, there's a clear, obvious, a lot of sway versus turning through the hip.
Yeah, and what I would say is if you are a big swayer, maybe don't feel that 5% shift.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll make that move anyway, feel a little bit more turn.
Definitely.
I'm guilty of that. So what I would do here, Nat, for me is I'm very guilty of being this way. So I make some real efforts in my sort of pre-shot routine to feel literally like this, because I know as soon as I put that golf ball down and I've got an intention to hit it towards target, I'm then going to put in that 5% anyway. Yeah,
and I'm the total opposite. I probably over-rotate and don't shift enough.
Make a great combo here.
Perfect team.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to hit this one away.
Oh, nice.
A little bit toey, but we are not going to say no to that.
Not going to complain at that one at all. Nice little draw, lovely bounce. Happy days.
So guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. As we said at the start, don't forget to check out Off Scratch. All those links are down below. We're bringing an element of what we do here on a bigger, better scale to really help you improve your golf. And we know we're helping loads of golfers, and we'd love to help you too.